At midnight, the Invisible Town Crier stopped in front of one widow's house and called the name of an innocent girl. By sunrise, the whole village wanted her destroyed, but nobody knew the real criminal was standing among the elders.
My children, come closer. Do not sit too far from the fire, because the story I am about to tell you is not the kind of story people tell in the afternoon when the sun is still bright.
When dogs suddenly stop barking and stare at one empty road. And when the old people lower their voices and say, "Do not answer any voice that calls your name after midnight." In the old village of Ikotuntutidem, long before electric light entered people's houses, long before phones started ringing in people's hands, there was a mystery that made even the strongest men sleep with one eye open.
They called him the Invisible Town Crier. Nobody knew where he came from. Nobody knew who gave him the gong. Nobody knew who sent him. But every market week, when darkness covered the village like black cloth, he would walk from compound to compound. And as he walked, he would cry in a voice that sounded like an old man, a woman, a child, and a spirit all speaking together.
Night insects fade into silence. But listen carefully, my children. They said this same spirit had many children hanging all over his body. Children on his back. Children on both his shoulders. Children wrapped around his waist. Children sitting on his head. Children clinging to each of his arms. His whole body was filled with children. Yet every night he cried. Night insects fade into silence. But the most frightening thing was not his cry. No, the most frightening thing was what happened after he cried. Because after crying through the village, he would stop in front of one compound. Then the night would become silent. Even the crickets would keep quiet. And then he would mention a name. Not just any name. The name of someone who had hidden evil in darkness. A thief, an adulterer, a murderer, a witch, a woman who had buried a secret, a young girl who had brought shame to her family, a man who had sworn falsely, a person who thought nobody saw them. But the Invisible Town Crier saw. And once he called your name, you were already guilty. Nobody asked questions. Nobody demanded witness. Nobody said, "Where is your evidence?" Because in Ikotnukidem, the people believed that there were two kinds of eyes. eyes of the body and the eyes of the spirit. The body may sleep, but the spirit does not sleep. This is the story of the night the Invisible Town Crier called the wrong name. Or so the village thought. In that village, there lived a young woman named Akwaima. Akwaima was beautiful, but not the loud kind of beauty. Her beauty was quiet. Her skin was smooth like fresh palm kernel oil on the morning sun. Her eyes were gentle. Her voice was soft. And whenever she walked to the stream with her clay pot, even the old women would look at her and say,
Akwa, this girl is truly beautiful. Nkwauto. Asian. Imaima. The villagers always praised her, not just because of her beauty, but also because she was respectful and well-mannered. But beauty, my children, is like a ripe mango near the road. Many eyes will look at it. Some eyes will admire it. Some eyes will desire it. And some eyes will plan evil against it. Akwaima lived with her mother, Ekate, a poor widow who sold firewood and smoked fish in the village market. Her father had died when she was small, leaving her mother with nothing but one mud house, one small farm, and many debts. But Ekaite raised her daughter with discipline. Every morning, before cockcrow, she would wake Akwaima. My daughter, sweep the compound. My daughter, fetch water. My daughter, do not follow girls who laugh too loudly in the market. My daughter, remember that a woman's name is like white cloth. Once stained, everybody will see it. Akwaima would bow her head and answer, "Yes, Mama." But unknown to her mother, there was one. His name was Etimerẹ. Etimerẹ was the son of Obong Okondo, the richest man in the village. Obong Okondo had barns of yams, many wives, goats, chickens, and 3 strong sons. Etimerẹ was his first son. He was handsome. He was proud. And he believed that whatever he wanted, he must have. When Etimerẹ first saw Akwaima at the stream, he stood under a palm tree and watched her lift water into her pot. The other girls giggled when they saw him. But Akwaima did not even look at him. That thing pained him, because pride does not like silence. The next day, he blocked her path near the stream. "Akwaima," he said, smiling, "do you not know who I am?" Akwaima balanced her pot carefully. "You are Etimerẹ, first son of Obong Okondo." Etim smiled wider. "Good. Then you should also know that many girls wish I would speak to them."
Akwaima looked at him calmly. Then go and speak to them. Etimerẹ smile died. The girls at the stream covered their mouths. They laughed softly. Etim felt shame rise in his chest like hot smoke. He stepped closer. You are proud because you are beautiful? Akwaima answered. No. I am careful because I am fatherless. Ninineke oborono. Then she walked away. Etimerẹ stood there, frozen. That was the first day his pride touched fire. And fire does not apologize for burning. That night, Etimerẹ sat in his father's compound, angry. His younger brother, Udofia, noticed his face. Brother, who offended you? Etimerẹ spat on the ground. That poor widow's daughter thinks she is bigger than me. Udofia laughed. Leave her. There are many girls. Etim turned slowly. No. I want that one, and I must have her. I must. Udofia stopped laughing. Because in Etimerẹ's voice, there was no love. There was only possession. Days passed. Etimerẹ started sending gifts. A basket of plantain, a wrapper, a small bottle of perfume from Calabar. Akwaima returned everything. Then Etimerẹ sent his mother to speak to Ekaite. But Ekaite bowed respectfully and said, My daughter is not rich, yes, but marriage is not by force. Let the girl's heart agree. When Etimerẹ heard this, his pride became a wound. And a wounded pride is more dangerous than a hungry leopard. One evening, as Akwaima returned from the market, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. It was Etimerẹ. No, what do you want? She asked. Etimerẹ looked around. The path was lonely. I want you to stop disgracing me. I have not disgraced you. You reject my gifts. You reject my mother. You reject me. Akwaima held her basket tightly. I do not belong to you. Etimerẹ smiled, but his eyes were cold. In this village, my father's word can bury a person. Akwaima stepped back. And God can uncover what men bury. Etimerẹ's face changed. He pointed at her. Aya atwa mpafiok. You will regret this. That night, Akwaima told her mother everything. Ekiate became afraid. My daughter, from today, do not walk alone. But fear had already entered the house like smoke. 3 nights later, the Invisible Town Crier walked. It was the first night of the new moon. Darkness was thick. Women pulled their children close. Men locked their goats. Old people whispered prayers. Then the village heard it. Far away,
Every heart began to beat fast because whenever the town crier walked, somebody's secret was about to die. He passed the chief's compound. He passed the market square. He passed the old Udala tree. Then he stopped in front of Ekate's compound. Inside the house, Akwaima froze. Her mother grabbed her hand. "No," Ekate whispered. "Not here." Outside, the invisible voice rose like thunder. "Akwaima etukudo." The whole village shook. "Akwaima etukudo, daughter of the widow." Ekate fell to the floor. Akwaima's lips trembled. The voice cried again. "You have hidden shame in darkness." The mother screamed, "Abasimbok, God, please." The crier continued. "You met a man near the old palm path. You gave your body before marriage. You covered your sin with silence. By morning, the whole village knew. Nobody asked Akwaima what happened. Nobody asked who the man was. Nobody asked if the invisible town crier could make a mistake. By sunrise, women were whispering at the stream. "Hey, that quiet girl? Ha, ha, ha. So she was pretending. Her mother was forming discipline. Poor people and pride." Akwaima could not leave the house. Ekate sat outside with ashes on her head. "My daughter," she cried, "tell me the truth." Akwaima wept. "Mama, I swear I did nothing." Ekate looked into her daughter's eyes. A mother knows the sound of truth when it is crying. She believed her, but the village did not. By afternoon, the elders summoned Akwaima to the village square. The square was full. Men sat with walking sticks. Women stood in groups. Children climbed trees to watch. Obong Okondo sat at the center, holding his ivory staff. Etim stood behind him, pretending to look serious. But Akwaima saw his eons. There was satisfaction inside them. The chief spoke. "Akwaima, the voice that sees in darkness has called your name. What do you say?" Akwaima knelt. "My fathers, I am innocent." The crowd murmured. An elder asked, "Are you saying the invisible town crier lied?" Akwaima lowered her head. "I do not know, but I know I did not do what he said." The crowd became restless. A woman shouted, "Shame does not confess easily." Another shouted, "She must name the man." Akwaima cried, "There is no man." Then Etim stepped forward. "My fathers,
Let us not punish her too much. She is young. Maybe fear has closed her mouth. Akwaima looked at him sharply. His words sounded kind, but his face was poison. Obongokundo nodded. My son speaks with wisdom.
Ekate rose suddenly. No, your son does not speak with wisdom. The whole square gasped. A poor widow had interrupted the chief. Ekate pointed at Etim. That boy threatened my daughter.
Etimerẹ widened his eyes.
Me?
The crowd turned. Ekate continued.
He wanted her. She refused him. He said she would regret it.
Etimerẹ laughed.
Then he shook his head. My fathers, see how shame is looking for a place to hide. The crowd laughed with him. Ekate cried.
I am telling the truth. Obongokundo struck his staff on the ground. Enough. The chief's voice became hard. Do not drag my son into your daughter's disgrace. Akwaima lowered her head. The accuser was protected by power, and the innocent had no witness. The elders decided that Akwaima must be taken to Akai Ẹkpo, the forbidden grove where truth was tested before the ancestors. If she was innocent, she would return before sunrise. If guilty, the spirits would keep her. Ekayete screamed. No, she is my only child.
Please, I am innocent. The elder looked away. Then the spirits will know. They left her there. Inside
the grove, Akwaima walked slowly. Every leaf sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like a face. She reached the fallen Napantuk tree and sat down. Then she heard a child crying. Not far away. A soft cry. Ma, ma, mother, mother. Akwaima held the lamp higher.
Who is there? The cry stopped. Then she heard many children whispering at once.
Akwaima's blood turned cold. The town crier was near. But when she looked around, she saw no one. Then from behind the fallen tree, a little man appeared. His skin was pale like moonlight. His eyes were too old for his face.
Hey, do you want to know who called your name? Akwaima could not speak. The boy said, "Follow me." The children on the town crier's body were not ordinary children. They were witnesses. Akwaima followed the strange boy through the forest. They reached a clearing where moonlight touched the ground like white powder. There, she saw him.
the Invisible Town Crier. Tall, bent, covered in children. Children on his shoulders, children around his waist, children on his back. One child sat on his head holding the gong. His face was hidden in shadow, yet his voice filled the forest.
Akwaima fell to her knees. "Please, why did you lie against me?" The children began to whisper. "We did not lie." Akwaima cried harder. "But I am innocent." The town crier lifted one hand. The gong sounded by itself.
Then the air opened like a curtain, and Akwaima saw a vision. She saw Etimerẹ standing near the old palm path. She saw him speaking to a man she did not know. She saw Etimerẹ giving the man a goat, a bottle of gin, and a small bag of cowries. Then she heard Etimerẹ say, "Tell the village you saw Akwaima with a man. When the crier calls her name, everybody will believe." Akwaima gasped.
I knew it was Etimerẹ. The vision changed. She saw an old shrine. She saw a crooked diviner. She saw Etimerẹ kneeling. The diviner said, "The invisible town crier cannot be bribed, but his voice can be imitated by one who knows the old night chants." Etimerẹ asked, "Will the village believe?" The diviner laughed. "People believe fear faster than truth." Akwama's mouth opened. It was not the true town crier who called her name. It was a false voice, a human voice hiding behind spiritual fear. Akwaima looked at the real town crier. "Then why did you not stop him?" The children began to cry. The town crier answered, while the sky darkened. "Because the village has stopped listening with wisdom. They now obey fear without asking truth."
His voice shook the trees. When people worship judgment more than justice, even lies can wear sacred clothing. Akwaima bowed her head. "What must I do?" The town crier pointed to the ground. "Dig." Akwaima looked down. There was soft earth beneath her feet. She dug with her bare hands. After some time, her fingers touched cloth. She pulled it out. It was a small ekpat ndam. Inside was a carved wooden whistle, black feathers, and a strip of cloth from Etimerẹ's wrapper. The town crier said,
"Take it, but be careful. The guilty will try to kill truth before morning." Shoo! Sudden sharp wind. Akwaima held the bag tight. Then the forest became dark. When she opened her eyes again, she was lying near the entrance of the grove. The clay lamp had gone out. Far away, the first cock crowed. "Cuckoo, cuckoo! Cuckoo, cuckoo! Cuckoo, cuckoo!"
She had survived. By morning, the village was shocked. Akwaima walked out of Akai Ẹkpo alive. Some women covered their mouths.
Onyongedio.
she returned. Maybe she is innocent. Or maybe stronger spirits protected her. Ekaite ran and embraced her daughter. Enyemi, my child.
But before Akwaima could speak, a scream came from the chief's compound. Etimerẹ's younger brother, Udofia, had collapsed. His mouth was foaming. His eyes were open. And he kept repeating one sentence. It was not the invisible crier. It was not the crier. The secret had entered the chief's own house. The elders rushed to the compound. Obong Okondo shouted, "What is wrong with my son?" Udofia trembled on the floor. He pointed at Etimerẹ. "Brother, tell them." Etimerẹ's face went cold. Udofia, keep quiet. But Udofia screamed. He paid the shrine man. The compound exploded. Women shouted. Men stood. Obong Okondo turned slowly to Etimerẹ. What is he saying? Etimerẹ forced a laugh. "Father, he is sick. He does not know what he is saying." But Akwaima stepped forward. Her body was tired, but her voice was clear. "He knows." She opened the raffia bag. The elders gathered around. One elder gasped, "This is the old night whistle." Another elder picked up the cloth. This cloth, this pattern belongs to the chief's household. Etimerẹ stepped back. "Nsu, lies."
Akwaima said, "Then let us call the shrine man." Etimerẹ's eyes changed. Fear entered them. Before anyone could stop him, he ran. The proud chief's son fled before a poor widow's daughter. Men chased him through the village. Etimerẹ ran past the market, past the stream, past the old palm path, and into the bush. But as he ran, the sky darkened. Clouds gathered, though it was morning. Then the village heard it. This time, the voice did not come from a man. It came from the sky. The true invisible town crier was walking in daylight. People screamed. Old women fell to their knees. Children ran into houses. Men dropped their cutlasses. Because never in the history of Ikot Notikidem had the invisible town crier walked when the sun was awake. Etimerẹ stopped running. In front of him stood the old Udara tree. From behind it came children's laughter.
Then a small child's voice said, "Etimerẹ Okondo." Etimerẹ turned slowly. The air shimmered. For the first time, everyone saw a shadow. Tall, bent, covered with children. The invisible town crier had revealed himself. What only spiritual eyes could see became visible to the whole village. The town crier raised his gong. Then he spoke. Etimerẹ Okondo. The ground trembled. You lied with my name. You used fear to bury innocence. You bribed darkness. You paid a man to wear the voice of judgment. You wanted the village to destroy a woman who refused you. Etimerẹ fell to the ground.
No! Mercy nyenin bomb! The children on the crier's body began to cry together. Nyenekeke ye no. The town crier said, You say you have power because your father is chief. But power without truth is a pot without bottom. It cannot hold water.
The elders searched his bag. Inside, they found another wooden whistle, black feathers, and cowries. The shrine man fell down. Forgive me, Etimerẹ paid me. The crowd shouted, Hey, Abasi! What kind of wickedness is this? The man who pretended to speak for spirits confessed before the real spirit. But the town crier was not finished. He turned to the elders. And you? The elders shook. You judged without asking. You condemned without hearing. You sent an innocent girl into the forbidden grove. You allowed fear to sit on the stool of justice. The oldest elder began to cry. My fathers, forgive us.
The town crier answered, Do not ask me. Ask the girl. All eyes turned to Akwaima. The same people who mocked her now lowered their heads. The same women who laughed now wiped their eyes. The same elders who condemned her now waited for her voice. Akwaima looked at them. Her face was wet with tears, but her voice did not shake.
I forgive those who were deceived, but I will not pretend that what happened did not happen. The village became silent. She turned to Obongo Kondo. Your son tried to destroy my name. If I had not returned, my mother would have buried me twice. Once in the forest, once in shame. Ekati began to sob. Obongo Kondo removed his red cap. He knelt. The whole village gasped. A chief kneeling before a poor widow's daughter. My daughter, he said, my house has wronged you. Ufok me edoefien. The proud chief bowed before the girl his house tried to bury. But just when people thought the matter had ended, the invisible town crier lifted his hand again.
Not yet, Betkana. The village froze. The crier turned towards Ekatete, Akwaima's mother. Ekatete trembled. Me? The town crier spoke softly. Ekatete, widow of Udo,
Akwaima grabbed her mother's arm.
Mama?
The crier continued. You have carried one secret for 15 years. Ekaite began to shake. The villagers murmured. Akwaima stepped back. Mama, what secret? Ekaite fell to her knees.
My child, the crier said, tell her. Ekiate covered her face. Akwiamina, your father did not die from fever. The crowd gasped. He was killed. Akwiamina's eyes widened. Who killed him? Ekiate pointed with trembling hand. Not at Etim, not at Obong Okondo, but at one of the elders, Elder Okon Asuko, the same elder who had ordered Akwiamina into the forbidden grove.
The judge of the innocent was hiding blood on his own hands. Elder Okon stood up suddenly. Lies! Nusu! Nusu! But the town crier's children began to chant.
My children, blood remembers. Blood remembers. Blood remembers. The old elder tried to run, but his legs failed him. He fell beside the udara tree. Ekaite cried out. Ehekate cried out. My husband found out that Okong stole land from orphans. He wanted to expose him. That night he did not return. They told me fever killed him, but I saw blood on Okong's wrapper. Akwaima's whole body went cold. All these years, Ekaite wept. Ehekate wept. I kept quiet because I was afraid he would kill you too.
The village erupted. Men grabbed Elder Oko. The town crier spoke. Tonight's judgment began with one lie. But truth is like fire in dry season. Once it starts,
It will not stop at one compound. The elders removed Okon from his seat. Obongo Kondo stood up slowly. His face was broken. He looked at Etimerẹ, then at Akwaima, then at the village. From today, he said, no person shall be condemned in this village by fear alone. Every accusation must.
The people murmured in agreement. The town crier lowered his gong. Then he looked at Akwaima. Or rather, everyone felt he looked at her. Daughter of truth, he said, your shame has become a mirror. Let the village see itself.
Then Akwaima understood. The town crier was not crying because he had no children. He was crying because the whole village was his child. And each time the village sinned in darkness,
He carried the burden on his body. Every secret became a child. Every hidden blood became a child. Every buried shame became a child. Every lie became a child. That was why his body was full. And still he cried, "I do not have any child." Because a child who refuses correction is like no child at all.
Etimerẹ was banished for 7 market weeks and ordered to return only after public cleansing. The crooked shrine man was sent away from the land. Elder Okon was stripped of his title and made to confess before the families he had harmed. Obongo Kondo gave Iyedete back the land stolen from her late husband. But Akwaima did something nobody expected. She did not marry into the chief's house. She did not run away from the village. She became the first young woman allowed to sit near the elders during judgment.
Not as an elder, not as a chief, but as the ear of the innocent. Whenever someone was accused, Akwaima would ask, "Have we heard both sides?" And whenever the village became too quick to condemn, she would say, "Remember the night fear wore the cloth of truth." Years passed. The village changed. People still feared the Invisible Town Crier, but they feared injustice more. And on some nights, when the moon was dark, the people still heard the cry, far away, soft, almost like wind. Nenyeneke eyeno. But after Akwaima's case, the cry changed. It no longer sounded only like judgment. It sounded like warning. It sounded like sorrow. It sounded like a father begging his children not to destroy one another. So, my children, what is the lesson? Truth may sleep under ashes, but one day wind will blow. A lie may borrow the voice of a spirit, but it cannot survive before the owner of the voice. And when a village becomes too hungry to shame people, innocent blood will one day ask questions. Remember this. Do not clap when another person is being disgraced, because tomorrow falsehood may wear your name like a wrapper. And also remember, judgment without truth is not justice. It is only another kind of wickedness. If this story touched your heart, do not keep it alone. Share it with others. Like this video. Subscribe for more deep Nigerian folktales. And when next you
hear a voice calling in the night, do not answer too quickly. Because some voices are not looking for your ears. They are looking for your secrets.